Okay, this is the second part to Lieutenant Larson's taping of Ramadi. It's of course Luke Larson. The interview date is February 7th, 2008. We're at 29 Palms, California, and of course this is still with Lima Company, 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines, 1st Marine Division. And this is the second part to the interview.
The next date that we're going to talk about is October like 14th through the 17th, which was the national referendum. We referred to it as the elections, but it wasn't in elections. They were actually voting on the national referendum. This is a way I like to describe it to people is you see a lot of the back in the States, a lot of national coverage on the women holding the pink fingers or purple fingers.
Purple
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I remember that. Yes.
That was the national referendum, and they also did the same thing for the elections. But what I'm talking about is the national referendum, which is on, to me, October 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th. Basically, in Ramadi, we were going to set up polling centers throughout the city, and there was on the bigger level, I don't know how many there was, but I know there was a couple. Lima Company was responsible for one at ECP2.
What does ECP stand for?
Entry Control Point.
Okay.
The battalion had several of them throughout the city, maybe like 7 to 9. Major Quinn could probably elaborate a little more.
Oh, you're talking about these entry control points. We're not talking about just a sandbag bunker or a checkpoint. These are actually fairly large facilities for what they are.
Yes. It's like a little mini firm base. On October 14th, my platoon was tasked with setting up a polling center at IED Elbow at at a school here. And I should know the name of the school because the next 3 days are a big part of my life, but I just know it as IED Elbow School. To give you kind of an orientation, here's Route Michigan, here's 295, this is Sunset. Sunset Road goes down, turns into Baseline, and then here's 342. We were told from like the State Department, like, hey, you need to have polling centers like here, 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 and here, but they weren't there in Ramadi. So the polling centers that they gave us were like, this is very like enemy-centric area here. Like, we did not control the streets here. If you went out here, this is an area, it's called IED Elbow, because every time a convoy went by there, it got hit by an IED.
So when the State Department told y'all they want these polling stations here, did they actually talk to y'all prior to choosing these?
And I don't know if it was actually the State Department. It could have been United Nations. Basically, it's an entity larger than a Marine battalion is telling us, hey, you got to set up a polling center here.
Okay.
So I can't tell you what specific agency it was, but I know that was coming down from like a lot higher than like a Marine battalion or Army brigade.
Was there like grumbling amongst your level of command?
Oh yeah, we were like, this is retarded. Like, why would you set up a polling center here? Like, this is in the middle of, like, we call it Indian country. You know, like, we're nobody's gonna come vote here. But you know, you get given a mission, so you're gonna execute, right? So,
well, that's just something important that the viewers understand, is that it looks very easy from where I'm sitting because I wasn't there, but like you were saying, I mean, that's where all the bad guys were.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just they were after y'all, but they were also putting a lot of pressure on the civilian populace. So why are they going to want to come and vote?
Yeah, exactly. So we moved in, and this school here, located at IED Elbow on the corner of Sunset and Baseline, was designated as a polling center. And the school, basically the way we were going to secure the school was, I was going to put my 3 squads in Overwatch over the school, and then inside the school was going to be an Iraqi Army platoon with like 30 election workers. And the election workers actually got flown in from southern Baghdad, which was fairly secure at the time, to Ramadi to work in this election. So there's election workers at these polling centers throughout the city.
And the reason for that was they wouldn't suffer any reprisals if they were locals.
Yeah, the reason was because they couldn't get dudes from Ramadi to work the polling center. So we set up we set up this polling center. We came in early on, we'll just call it day 1, day 2, and day 3. And day 1 was like a setup day. Day 2 was the election day, and day 3 was a teardown day. So early day 1, like 04, and this concurrently, like it's very important to note, is like when we took contact, there was a lot of units out in zone. This is a general trend you'll see. It's like when the battalion goes out, the battalion gets hit. Like if one squad's out, they hardly ever, I mean, they took contact, but like anytime, based on my experience, anytime we rolled out in force in like a company to battalion type operation, we got hit.
So the emphasis was to keep this as, I mean, it seems kind of suicide that you send only a platoon out there, but...
Well, a platoon can defend itself against anything. So they said like, hey, you need to set up this security at this polling site.
Yeah, my question was, they sent you out there because it was actually safer just to send a platoon. In my mind's eye, being a civilian looking at this, I would assume the more Marines out there, the safer. But what you were saying just now, you send more, it's going to encourage the insurgents to come attack you.
Correct. Yes. So smaller is better, and like that on the second deployment, we fully embraced that concept.
Okay.
So we move out on day 1. Like 04, we've got the mobile sections, they take us down, they insert us. We have military working dogs go in and sweep the area with EOD to see if they can detect any IEDs. And they don't detect any IEDs. We knew that we were going to probably take contact because this was a pretty bad area of town. So we hardened these buildings, meaning we trucked in sandbags and all kinds of other stuff. So we had an Army PLS truck, which is, I don't know the acronym, but it's basically like a big flatbed full of sandbags, bulletproof glass, come park next to the school, and that truck, we were going to harden all of our buildings that we were staying in.
So just the physical work itself was incredibly demanding. And at that time, you didn't have 40 plus Marines helping out, because I assume half of them had to be on security, as the others are.
Yeah, we were trying to get the Iraqis to harden do all the hardening, because the main building we wanted to harden was the school where the polling center was going to be. As we're getting set up, 3rd Squad set up an overwatch in this house here, which was Sergeant Brown with me. I was with 3rd Squad.
Yeah, I'm sorry, did we get his first name earlier? Do you remember?
Sergeant Derek Brown.
Sergeant Derek Brown, okay.
Who is a fucking badass. 1st Squad sets up an overwatch here. That was Sergeant Bilderback with Staff Sergeant Link. And 2nd Squad with Sergeant Euban and Sergeant Mejia set up an overwatch here. So the Marine squads are pretty self-sufficient. Like, they don't need me as a platoon commander to tell them how to set up their OPs.
Did you have any attachments that day? Weapons attachments or anything?
We did. We had with us, we had an Iraqi Army platoon attached. We had a MIT team section attached, which is the MIT team that was attached to us is the same dudes that were with me on October 4th.
Okay. It
was the same Iraqi Army platoon. We had EOD attached to us shortly to do the sweep. And then we had a mobile section support us to insert us, and that was Lieutenant Mahika with Lima Mobile.
Okay.
So we get inserted, and the first thing we do is the Marines break contact, go set up their OPs. Meanwhile, me and a guy named Corporal Falla, has Corporal Falla been introduced to you guys yet?
I think I don't have him on my list, but I believe I've met him briefly.
Corporal Falla is